Once again, giving Sean a big round of applause. Sean Gigremosa, founder of Claritiv.
Hi everyone. Thank you. I have fans. Woohoo! So let me start with a question. Like, have you ever felt like when you build something that you thought you were going the right way, but in reality, you're heading towards a dead end? Like, hands up, right? I love it. So that was me, like in the beginning of Claritiv. We built the best product. I started Claritiv as a product management tool. I showed it to one of the lead product leaders in the Bay Area. I was like so excited. I was like, okay, here it is. It's gonna be great. It's gonna save you so much time. That product leader looked me in the eye and said, this is not gonna help me. This is gonna add hours to my work. I felt gutted. It was very painful. It was hard to listen to. And that was basically the start of all the different challenges and hurdles in my journey of building Claritiv. So as Lorraine mentioned, my name is Sean Gigremosa. I started my career as a web developer. I built solutions for Honda, Warner Brothers, State Street Bank, and I might be aging myself, but I built the first website for a little show that had a jingle or a song that went, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Never heard of it.
No, oh, okay. At least I'm not that old. So after years of being a developer, I transitioned into product management and digital strategies. I worked for NRG Energy, which is one of the top 20 utilities company in the US. I worked for this one company called Rolls-Royce. You may or may not have heard of it. And I was a VP of product for this company called Premier Digital. So who has an iPhone or an Android phone? So look at every media play on iPhone. All those assets, those movies, like went through that platform. But all of that experience I had as a developer or as a product manager did not make me ready to the challenges, the hurdles that I had to go through in building Claritiv. It was tough. I mean, I always say the founder's life is it's lonely and it's challenging. So everybody loves a good origin story, right? You know, you go to a superhero, it's like an origin story of Spider-Man, Superman, or whatnot. So this is ours. So we came thinking to fix a problem, a challenge. And then that challenge is the disconnect between what your users tell you they want and what you actually want. So whenever we're building it as a tool, the problem happens, right? Like you talk to your users like, hey, Sean, you know, this is what I want to do. And then you understand. It's like, okay, well, I know what he wants to do. And then it's like, hey, user, here it is. And they go, that's not what we want. That's not what we talked about. And that is a common problem, right? And that was the reason why we built Claritiv, because it's not just about understanding what you want. It's about capturing it, but also understanding it. It's about prioritizing it, but also creating a roadmap for action. And it's also analyzing one specific topic, but also aggregating all of those information so that you have a holistic view. So how did that start? So it actually started, what was the trigger, right? So it actually started, I was a product manager for Rolls-Royce. I was leading a team. We were building a predictive maintenance solution for power systems units. So I had the best team. I had the best data scientist, solution architect. I was supported by a team from Microsoft, from MCS, from Microsoft Consulting Services. And we thought we knew exactly. We did discovery calls, we did validations, we did refinement sessions, all the things that you're supposed to do as a product manager. We went to 2 different sprints. And then the CDO, the Chief Digital Officer of Power Systems, came in. And he cutted us. Like, you can hear a pin drop in that room. He basically said, like, this doesn't make sense at all. You don't understand our business. You don't understand our product. And that was the trigger. And that actually came to me. And as I was building the Claritiv, that was the one that was like, that kept coming back. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about understanding. It's not just about action, but the synthesis and aggregation of data. And that was the vision for Claritiv, which is turn chaos into clarity. So what are 3, and I promise we're gonna have like a conversation, and I love some questions after this. What are 3, I wanna say, lessons that I learned as I was building this startup? The first is basically, hold on. I love when you're reading and then you got lost because I got so excited. So now I have to like look for, where am I in my speech? And it's long. Oh yeah, the 3 challenges is, once you actually talk to users, it's, as I mentioned, it doesn't actually become perfect, or there's never a perfect, because once users actually see it, how they use it and how they're actually going to adapt your product is not going to be what you thought. So in a sense, you have to be able to adapt. I started Claritiv as a product management tool. In CES last year, I did a pitch at Startup Vegas. And the panel basically is like, why isn't this, like, why aren't you selling to sales? And I was like, okay, well, because I don't understand sales. But that was the trigger, right? That was the adaptability for us to be able to say, okay, if we can actually understand sales, if we can talk to these salespeople, if I can talk to all of these leaders, then I know how to craft, I know how to refine my product that can actually resonate. The second is, I want to say, lessons that I learned is focus. Within Claritiv, we always have kind of like within our culture, I always say it's like focus on one. And what does that mean, right? You'll see it all within the app is everything is about what is that one? Is like, how many, just quick question, like how many here, you go to your boss, like these are our priorities, A, B, C, and D. Well, that's not a priority, right? Like if your priority is 1, 2, and 3, both at the same level, then it's not a priority. So how do you actually kind of like figure out what you want to do first? So focus on one for us is, okay, well, Claritiv, I love when people say like, oh, you can do this for this, 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 and this. And this is going to be so great. And I'm like, okay, great, but I'm not Salesforce. I'm not Gong. I'm not HubSpot. I have a team of 9. So which ones amongst all of those things that we can do, should we do? And as a startup with, bootstrap startup, we have to really be really focused on what we can actually achieve with the resources that we have right now. And I want to say the last lesson that I learned is feedback. And it's not about getting feedback from your friends or your family, because like your friends and family will always say like, you have the best product in the world and you're going to make $1 billion. Yeah, it's actually better to get feedback from strangers at Tech Alley, people on LinkedIn. This is how I did it. I reached out to 100 people when I trying to pivot to sales, I reach out to 100 people in LinkedIn, type sales, VP of sales in whatever industry. Hey, do you have a couple minutes? I want to understand. I don't, we're trying to build a product, but we don't really understand your role really well. Not every one of those 100 said yes, but a good enough of them said yes. And I was able to learn, I was able to understand, I was able to actually validate, okay, well, what part about Claritiv actually makes sense, right? What part about Claritiv actually resonates? What part about what we offer, what do we need to change to actually make it so that, okay, well, you're building a product that actually my teams will use. And we're still refining, and we're still grabbing feedback. So if I talk to you later on today, that feedback that I'm going to have with you is going to drive how we build our solution. And if there was 3, I want to say, advice I can give to prospective founders that have an idea, or founders that want to scale, there's 3 things that I can say. First, start now. Start now, because you will never have the perfect product. And even if you think you have the perfect product, once it's actually in front of users, and no, not just like a click dummy that you show them an envisioned prototype that they can click around and say, oh yeah, it looks nice, but something usable that actually produces an output, everything will be broken. Because you don't know how Ben will use it, you don't know how James will use it, Martin will probably use it a little different way. And each of those are valid data points. And you wouldn't know that unless you actually release it. The second, as I mentioned, is feedback, right? And any feedback is good feedback. Good, bad, terrible. And the last, and I think the most important advice I can give to founders is stay resilient. Startup life is lonely. I talked to Martin about this a lot. It's full of peaks and valleys. I wish it was a hockey stick where it's just full-on growth, but that's probably 0.00001 of all the startups out there. It's going to be, you're going to have a high and you're going to have a whole bunch of lows. But what's important is being able to understand those lows, learn from it, grow, and succeed. Small steps. One of my favorite books is this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. 1% every year, or 1% every day. It doesn't seem like it's a big change, but after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years, you'll be way better off than where you were. So anyway, that's kind of like the talking portion of this talk. I wanted to give at least 10 minutes to have a conversation. So if any of you guys have any questions, love to open it up.
How do you spell the name of the company? What's the website?
The question was, how do you spell the name of the company? It's Claritiv. It's Claritiv. And the website is claritiv.ai.
Okay.
How's it funded?
The question was, how is it funded? Right now we're bootstrapped, friends and family. So basically we're just trying to, again, be very focused because we're not Salesforce. We don't have a whole bunch of capital. So we need to really validate what we need to build. Yes.
What does the product do in terms of is it a data aggregator tool?
So parts of it is going to be a data aggregator. So it's not a data aggregator in terms of we're going to take files and documents and things like that. Our focus in Claritiv is really conversations. And the meaning behind that, because we believe that 70% of your knowledge comes from conversation. It's like you learn, it's like I learn every time I speak to any of you, I gain knowledge from that. So with that, we will, analyze your conversation, be it sales, be it product, be it exhibits and conference, And the aggregation is that it's not just that one conversation, it's aggregating all of it so you have a holistic view. Like, okay, well, I spoke to Sean several times. What actually is driving Sean, right?
So it's like an LLM.
It's like an LLM with some machine learning models on top, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you integrating with like Zoom and things like that so you can capture meetings in Slack?
Yeah. Yeah, so the question was, are we integrating with Zoom, Slack, things like that? So we actually, so the answer is yes. So we're integrated with Zoom, Google Meets, and Teams right now, as well as HubSpot and Salesforce. But currently, we're actually, like, we have a really cool, exciting thing that we're doing. We partner with this one company called Interactor. So Interactor, they're big in the enterprise space. One of their biggest clients is LG, so LG Electronics. And what that opens up is that with this partnership, it will open up Claritiv to thousands of apps. So from Slack, from all the CRM tools. So it's going to be really exciting within the next couple weeks. Yes? So I think the question is, and stop me if I'm wrong, how is the leadership team right now, and what are we looking for in terms of scaling the team? Okay, so the leadership team right now, so I'm very product centric. So with product, there's always, I don't know if you guys like, there's the product trio, right? There's a designer, an engineer, and a product manager. So my leadership team is composed of 2 designers, my main engineer, and me as the product person. I do have, within the team as well, is somebody that handles investor relations and account management. So basically my sales team. So that's the core of the founding team. In terms of scale, I'm big on, as I learn more about sales, that sales runs the world. So in the end, it's the being able to scale my nearshore sales team to be able to really get more traction and get more clients.
Is your team here in Henderson, or are you scattered around remote?
We are scattered around. Most of my team is actually global, and it's folks that I've kind of like brought with me through this journey, and like some of them are part of my, kind of like folks that I work with. So, for example, my 2 designers are in Germany. My engineer, my like CTO per se, is in the Middle East. My salesperson is here in Henderson, or not Henderson, but here in Las Vegas, and my other one is in Mexico.
Did I hear you say that conversations during trade shows?
You can do, so that's something that we're about to launch probably in the next couple months with Mr. Van Leif. Is basically the idea is so one of the challenges that we see, like I was in CES a couple weeks ago, right? And if you're exhibiting at CES, you talk to hundreds and maybe thousands of people. Do you actually remember everything that you talk to for each person? And then what you're getting from those exhibitors is a very generic email. It's like, it maybe goes something like this. Hi, Sean, we met at CES, and here's our product offering. I was like, well, do you remember what we talked about? So the idea is to have a tool. So we're actually looking at a tool right now, or a device, to capture those conversations. And because we have like advanced analytics, so we can actually analyze the salesperson or the prospect or both, and how that conversation and then what actually the things that you talked about, so your follow-up becomes better, right? And we can even, maybe this is, I don't know if this is viable, but we can even check to see if you're spending thousands of dollars at these conferences, you're spending thousands of dollars for consultants, not consultants, that you want to man the booth. Are they actually doing their job, right? So with this, you can see okay, well, do they have good product knowledge? Do they have, are they courteous? Are they empathetic? What did they talk about? And then again, you can validate your expense and also eventually be able to get more ROI by having a more focused feedback or follow-up approach to those prospects.
Either one.
Okay. So where are you mostly getting your business now? How's your revenue looking? Are you able to expand without raising additional capital, just utilizing revenues?
So a lot of our actually business now is in healthcare. We're onboarding one company this week actually, Wednesday, on Friday. When what they do is a sales team that's doing genome research. So they're using it for conferences. So they go to a lot of conferences and they talk to all of these scientists to be able to capture and aggregate and synthesize all of that data. So a lot of our and then our other kind of like main companies is a Workday. They do Workday consulting, and Workday within that healthcare space. And what was the second part of your question?
So where is most of the business in Nevada?
No, so the healthcare consulting is in Chicago. Actually, I have two in Chicago, and we have another startup in Chicago that's using us, and then the genome is in California. I think you asked about.
Are you able to expand with your revenue, or do you need to raise additional capital in order to get more clients?
I mean, we'll live without raising. So we can, as we're getting more, I think what Kurt said, right? I'd rather be cash positive than actually constantly raising. So that's what we've done so far. My goal is always to be, cash healthy as an organization, and then raising if not when or if I need it, but if the opportunity presents itself. So this is how we've kind of differentiated ourselves from most of our companies. So if you look at Gong and Fathom, so they go in the per seat. So you pay I think for Gong it's $300 per seat or something like that. We actually go, it's almost usage based. So I don't care if you put your entire company of 5,000 into the platform. Cool. It's really about the analysis, right? So how many, let's say, hours of meetings do you want analyzed? So, and we have 3 different tiers, all the way to enterprise. So 50, 250, 500, and enterprise being 1,000 plus.
So a question I have has to do with information husbandry. A lot of the companies, it sounds like a B2B. It sounds like your system is moving to a lot of internal communications, a lot of intellectual property. How do you address the concerns of the customers in that regard?
So we've actually built Claritiv with that in mind. So if you go to kind of all of these other tools, you get you would go to, I don't know, Fathom.ai or Otter.ai, and then you get a login, right? So what we do is we're actually tenant-based. So each of our, let's say, companies that use Claritiv will get their own tenant. So their data actually just sits within, for the lack of a better term, protected space. Exactly. Yes. So our right now we don't have it to that level. So we actually ACV meaning because we've changed our revenue model from what we did previously. Whenever we're doing pilots, we were pricing it at $80 per seat just to see. So at that point, our ACV is around $1,600 per year because it wasn't our goal to for profit. But with this new revenue model, we're hoping to be able to get that data within the next, I think within the next year. So I'm sorry, we just don't have that information yet. Yes.
What was your development cycle before you had a public release? How long? Sorry. So
as I mentioned earlier, right? During my speak, I was start now, just put it in front of users. Mm-hmm. So we had
from concept to.
Yes. So we had a very rough beta. So we went to beta in 2023. We had about a 4-week development cycle, and then from there, I call it's not beta, it's actually alpha. We basically put it out.
4 weeks before you released it?
4 weeks before we released it. From concept to I have a really, really good engineer, and then at that point, we didn't care about user experience. We just wanted to make sure is the output. So we wanted to validate something for each release. Is the output good enough that people will see value out of it? So that's why you know, like we didn't
It,
put.
yeah, but it wasn't a running product.
It wasn't. It was working, but it wasn't like a scalable product. Like it wasn't. I wasn't asking people to pay money for it. If that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you promoting it and lead generation?
So our promoting is mostly just through LinkedIn. So we, you know, like I post a lot of articles on LinkedIn. Lead generation. So I have my two kind of like account executives. They basically, you know, we scrape Apollo, identify our core ICP. Let's just say salespeople in tech companies, you know, like with this size, with these types of, so tech enabled, so they have to be using Zoom, things like that. And then we do just basically cold outreach, multi-channel, email, calls, heavy on calls, and LinkedIn. Any other questions? Any, yes?
Okay, mine's kind of detailed. So let's say I have a staff at an event expo. He talks to all these people. He's an engineer. He's not going to go on Slack like he's supposed to, and he's not going to follow up like he's supposed to. He just like, oh, I'm excited, and he forgets about it, right? So then is the process, he then goes and talks to Claritin, and Claritin, like how does, is it voice to text? Does he have to write it out? Like, how do you get all that information from them? Because you weren't actually there with them. You're not internal.
Yeah, so like this is that service that, so it's not out right now. We're still testing that that phase. So we're gonna have a device that you basically wear. It's just a small device, and it will auto record as it detects voice. So it'll record within, you know, kind of like 2 meters. So if they're having conversations, they don't even have to click a button, right? And as far as I know, like maybe like this is what I know about Nevada. You don't actually have to tell the person that they're being recorded. Only one person needs to know. But you know, like, you know, again, it's a POC. We're just trying it out. But that's how it's. And then like the current process, because we're gonna fake it until we make it, is that towards the end of the day, we basically, okay, we'll get the device, download it, and then we'll kind of like manually do that process of uploading and analyze. Like the analyzation is not going to be manual; it's going to be done to the platform, but the upload is going to be done manually.
So it relies on the device. It's not a manual. They type it in or they interview. None of that.
Yeah. So one of our core, I would say, visions of Claritiv is to have as little manual input or intervention as much as possible. So we want to make sure that all the documentation, every kind of like is done by the system.
So to like onboard a small company with only a few representatives at the shows, they still have to purchase the device from you. So it's like how it's like you said, $550 a seat, $300 a seat.
No, that's for Gong. So right now, like we haven't really defined what that pricing is, because again, we're still kind of like refining that part. But basically, it's saying like, okay, well, we have this one convention. They pay one price. They let us know like, okay, we have 5 people. We'll be there. We'll give them. So it's almost like a concierge handhold process until we perfected the.
So you guys are like in beta, pretty much.
That part of it is in beta, because like that's a new service. The actual app, the Claritiv app, is live right now.
I want to interject 1 second. Yeah. Okay, guys, so we ran over time a little bit. We're doing something different today. So if you have any more questions for Sean, we have the space over on Water Street called Wine on Water. Okay. So if you have any particular questions you want to ask about Claritiv or what he's doing and any challenges he's had, and maybe just brainstorm a little bit, you can meet Sean over there, you know, in the next 5-10 minutes, whatever, and you guys can have some one-on-one. But we have to move on to the next speaker. I'm sorry, Sean.
It's okay.
You know, it's good that people want to talk to you. Sean, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.